Welcome to my 424 class, and this message is really nothing to do with your module, but I just thinking that it might be a good idea to know something about famous business persons, entrepreneurs in Japan, because I'm from Japan, so maybe I can share some stories with you guys. Well, this time I want to introduce Mr. Soichiro Honda, the founder of the Honda Motor Corporation. He was actually born as a son of the blacksmith. At that time, blacksmith was not only making knife and sword, but they are actually fixing watches, clocks, if they are knowledgeable. His father was very knowledgeable. I think his father got sense, so he could fix clocks and watches. It's very simple ones. So Mr. Honda observed what his daddy was doing. So he actually, learning from the beginning of his life about mechanics and engineering. So it was very natural for him to have interest in engineering, mechanics. When he was very small, he actually went to the airplane show in 1918, and he decided to produce his own airplane. That was his motivation to go to mechanical engineering seriously. But unfortunately, at that time, there was no chance for him to produce airplane by himself. So he joined the automotive engineering company. Basically, the company is fixing cars. He stayed there for 6 years. The funny thing is that he learned not only the ways to fix cars, but also he learned how to build cars from the scratch. In fact, he built his own car. In fact, he built a car from 3 different cars. And by building his own car from the scratch, he learned how to improve performance of his car. Suspensions, engines, brakes, handlings, everything. So when he actually spent 6 years in one company, he could establish his own engineering company, and it was actually big because he was on the top of the automobile engineers in Japan, so why not? So he is not only the founder of the Honda Motor Corporations. Long before he established Honda Motor Corporation, he already owned a big company for automobile engineering. When we got the World War II, he gave up on the company. He sold the company. Then he built another company, which is Tokai Heavy Industry. The piston ring. It's a very specific component, but it's really important for the Japanese engineering because at that time we couldn't produce fine-tuned piston rings. So he studied. He actually went to the college for a couple of weeks, just get knowledge. So he said, okay, this is something I try. I asked the professor, I took some classes. Okay, I was wrong. If I found something wrong, I don't need to stay in college, kind of thing. So he went to college just to get the knowledge, and he came back to his company. So he started making the piston ring in the Tokai Heavy Industry. Eventually, because of the quality of the piston ring, the company grew a lot. So the company became one of the really like a large company in his state, and Toyota Motor Corporation invested in that. So that was second corporate ownership of Mr. Honda. So he knew everything about entrepreneurship and engineering. before we lost the war, he sold the Tokai heavy industry to the Toyota. He cashed. He got a lot of money. And after the World War II, he decided not to do anything for 1 year. So between 1945 and 1946, he just didn't do anything except he was making salt to buy alcohol. He made, small engine, and he attached the engine to the bicycle for his wife, so that his wife doesn't need to really ride the bicycle. He just enjoyed his life. But he said after 1 year, he was tired with it. He knows how to recharge him. That is also entrepreneurial energy. He built a company and he sold it. He built another company, he sold it. He just needed energy. But he still believed that he's going to have energy again. So he did that. So after 1 year of just doing nothing, and he decided, okay, I'm going to do something. What he did is that, okay, I'm going to develop the Honda Technical Laboratory, which is Honda Motors later on. But he just got a few employees and he just built a small laboratory and he started making engines. But because of his knowledge, the laboratory is actually not only producing the good engines, but the engine was so improved. So it's really laboratory with research and development and production facilities. In 1940s, the motorcycle industry in Japan was severe. More than 200 Japanese companies were making motorcycle. Now how many? A few. Honda was one of them. But Honda was not oldest company in the motorcycle industry. Honda was one of the newest company participating in the market. And Honda beat everybody up. So he actually started producing motorcycle. When his company getting bigger, he found a guy, Mr. Takeo Fujisawa. He is a pure manager. He got the driver's license, but he never drive the car kind of person. But he knows how to calculate money. He knows how to do promotion. He was genius about it. So the Honda said, okay, I'm going to take care of laboratory. You take care of Honda Motor Corporation. Here is a stamp of the corporate stamp, official stamp. You can use it. You don't need to ask me whatever you do. I trust you. But don't tell me anything about engineering because I know what I'm doing. You don't know anything about what I'm doing. But I don't know anything about what you're doing. That's mutual trust. 2 persons for 1 person. It's amazing, a partnership. And also Fujisawa always respected Mr. Honda because Mr. Honda was genius. So whenever Mr. Honda said, hey, this is a new engine, how do you think? There are so many opportunities for Mr. Fujisawa to sell because the engine is just best. So it was a great combination. Now, that's how Honda was growing. In 1960s, Japanese government said, we're going to liberalize capital market. We're going to liberalize Japanese market so foreign companies can come. And also, exchange of foreign currency will be free. Automobile industry was one of the strategic industry for Japanese government. So the Japanese government said, you know what? We have to restrict the numbers of automobile companies in Japan to maintain competitiveness in the global market. And Honda said, no way. So government gave him 1 year. If you submit good car in 1 year, we give you license to do the business. Piece of cake. Because he was an automobile guy. So he just produced the best of the best small cars in 1 year, and he just showed, hey, this is what we do. And government said, no problem. That's called competence. So he joined the automobile industry. Immediately, the Honda became #1 in the small car segment. Niche strategy. Why? Because we have Nissan and Toyota. So the Honda has no way to to actually introduce themselves into the normal segment. So let's beat the niche segment and establish the largest market share to sustain the basic cash inflow for the corporate sustainability. When Honda decided to go to international, the first target country was Vietnam. He said no. The reason was very simple. To the Vietnam, we can export from Japan. We don't need to really do anything in Vietnam. And he knew, if he bring the Honda's motorcycle in Vietnam, immediately market will accept it because of the quality. But why he chose America? For him, he wanted a challenge, not with the motorcycle, but with the car. The American market was the toughest market with the toughest competitors. So Honda said, let's go for it. I want to try it. So he said, go to America. And he chose Ohio, state of Ohio. He didn't know anything about America. He just, checked in which state we should go. And one of the executives said, Ohio sounds like Ohio, means good morning in Japanese. And Honda said, I like it, let's go for it. It's very simple. For him, the location is not that important. The important thing is that if he could win in the market. And he was confident about the engine, his engineering. He just want to try it. That's very aggressive. Now, this kind of success story, nice story, would end in 1973 when young executives recommended Mr. Honda to retire. It's a succession plan. 1960s, Mr. Honda's brain getting stubborn. He stopped learning something new. I think his confidence became overconfident. Yes, indeed, because he experienced a lot of successes. So much success. And he knows what he's doing. So he's really confident and overconfident. In fact, a lot of presidents of the Honda Motor Corporation, after Honda retired, they were fighting with Mr. Honda. A few of them quit the company and they came back. A few of them just stay in their house. They refused to come to the company because they didn't agree with Honda's idea about technology. Especially because he experienced the World War II. He focused on the air-cooled engine. The air-cooled engine is a very simple engine and very durable engine. It's perfect for the war. But because engineering is getting more improved and the water-cooled engine is quiet and actually better performance, so the industry already shifted to the water-cooled engine. He refused. Well, young people said, if you stay 3 more years, that means if Mr. Honda would stay in Honda as a CEO until 1976, Honda would not exist. Is that bad? So basically, they say, hey, why don't you retire? The funny thing is that Mr. Fujisawa decided retirement before Honda decided. Fujisawa knew what's going on. So Fujisawa said, you know what? I will retire. And Honda said, how can you retire? Without you, I cannot do anything. I know, that's why I will retire. So, let's retire together. Mr. Honda struggled, but what he could do, Fujisawa took him away, basically. That was a succession. A lot of people say Mr. Honda is a nice guy. I believe so. But at the same time, he was very stubborn. When company is small, such stubbornness could be a good leadership, especially if the person has knowledge, entrepreneurial sense. But if the company is getting bigger and bigger, if the market is getting more matured, you need a succession plan. Honda's succession plan was like almost legend because we only see the beautiful side. We only know Mr. Honda decided to retire in 1973 for the younger people. The real story was not that beautiful. He was fired. He was technically fired. vice president, which is Mr. Fujisawa, took him away. Is that difficult? Well, if you're interested about Honda, this is just a few stories I want to share. But if you're interested in Honda, Mr. Honda, you can actually go to Google and find a lot of stories. But my idea is that it is good idea to find good stories, very like motivative stories about entrepreneurs. But I want to know more about the real personality. And also personal history with the corporate history, especially around successions, decisions, time of decisions. That will give me the true sense of strategy. And if you understand this kind of stories, you may actually do the self-reflection when you own a company, when you have to make a decision, when you have to retire, when you have to delegate powers, authorities. That will actually ensure the sustainability of your corporation. Even your executive, you could do the same thing. If you're a consultant, you obviously have to see these kind of ideas. You can be very specific area of consulting, but as a strategist, you have to see the overview. Not only market, but also internal conditions. Anyway, again, this is really nothing to do with your module, but I thought it will kill your time. Thank you for watching this. I'll make another video if I feel like it. See ya.